Welcome to Community Conversations, our session for Technomatics Plant Simulation today. I'm Taryn Blake, a Community Engagement Program Manager, and I am your host for this enablement session. And today's topic is High Bay Warehouse Modeling Basics. As many of you know, our speaker for this session is Mr. Steffen Bangsow, and he is a freelance simulation expert who has been doing this for many, many years and also with us for a couple of years here at Siemens Digital Industry Software. Steffen has published 5 books on plant simulation and is one of the leading contributors to our community here. So, big steps for our agenda today. He's going to go through configuring basic high bay warehouse settings, using warehouse management system logic, storing parts in the warehouse efficiently, and then triggering and controlling automated retrieval processes. So as always, we are live. Steffen's going to go through all of this live, each step, and then you have the opportunity, as I said, to unmute and ask a question. You can use the hand raise button that is in the top of your screen. And that is it for my introduction. Steffen, feel free to steal the screen.
Okay, hello for our next webinar, and the topic is High Bay Warehouse Basics, and it's really only the basics because it's so a big topic, and there are other topics connected with this. One we had already. This was one topic where I showed how to change the rack service unit RSU to create a stacker crane from it, and you can find the recording of this webinar in the virtual user group forum recordings. Okay, today I want to show you the very basics of warehouse of the high bay warehouse, which components you need, and how to use it from the basic, and how to create. I want to create a very basic example how to use this, and so I will just start with one scenario. Okay, a short description. I have a batch production. One-hour setup. And 20 seconds cycle time. On one side, and on the other side, I have a continuous assembly process. With 10 minutes prop time. And yes, and in between, you will need to buffer something. And this for buffering, we have several ways. One would be a buffer, but if you need to investigate the buffer itself, the technique and dimension and technical equipment, storage area, and so on, you will need to model the store itself, not only a buffer block or a store block. You need to model the store itself, and this can be very, very complicated. Most complicated are the data. Okay, for our very simple example, I make 3 parts. One part should be red. Green and blue. I colored. This should be red. This should be blue. And I need one source and a table to create the batches. I just drag the MU classes here into the table for the MU selection of the source. And if you drag this table to the source, it becomes MU selection sequence cyclical, and the table as data source for this for the creation. And then I need just want to have a single block to represent the production, and I have here a processing time of 20 seconds and setup time of 1 hour. This is one side of the production, and the other side should be an interim buffer. I take a store for this. One additional source for containers. Container should have only a capacity of 3. And one assembly station. Where I assemble 3 parts onto one container, and at the end, so that we can see something, a conveyor and a train. This is the second part of the production. No setup time here, only 10 minutes for the assembly process. And I need to adjust the assembly station. I want to attach the MUs. The main MU come from predecessor 1, it's okay. And assembly table should be based on MU types. And I want to add green and blue, each one of them. I want to assembly. Okay, in between, I need a storage. This store should only store 5 or 10 of each part. All the other stuff should come from a high-bay warehouse. And to connect this, I need here a conveyor. And to use the high-bay warehouse, you need to include the high-bay 3D high-bay warehouse library from into your class library. And so the first step is manage class library. You find the high-bay warehouse library here in the libraries section of this menu, and there are differences between these libraries, between the versions of blend simulation. I have now, I make this example with 2504. Maybe this library is in your version Hybe Warehouse 3D. Okay. You'll find this library then in application objects, Hybe Warehouse 3D, and there are several objects in this library. So first we need a warehouse management system. There you have all the controls for the Hybe warehouse. And we need the rack lane. The rack lane consists on 2 racks and 1 rack service unit, RSU. And you create your warehouse, your Hybe warehouse from several of these objects. So you need to plan, okay, I have, for instance, 2 of these rack lanes. Then you need to insert 2 of these rack lane objects into your model. You see some connectors here, this interface objects. And by tracking the conveyors on this interface objects, it's connecting to the Hybe warehouse objects. You can also track all this together. And at the end, I want to connect this with this store. Okay. Out of the box, you have a lot of adjusting possibilities here. It only needs to double click onto the rack lanes. And then you can set the number of columns or rows and the dimensions of the storage places to change the appearance of this rack. Also the thickness and clearance between the storage places you can adjust. And rack service unit, you can set all these speeds and accelerations to the rack service unit to get a realistic behavior. And then you have the pre-storage area here. This consists of conveyors and converters. Yeah, this is converter and this is conveyors, and all the speeds you can set here. And then there's a tab statistics. Okay, so this is quite easy. At the starting point, it's create the connection to the warehouse management system. And you can hold down the Alt key and double click on this rack lane object. And then it's open the subframe. And you see this is here, these are storage object, 2 storage objects. Here you have the conveyors and the converters. And this is based on a transporter and a track, and all others are animations. And you have a lot of methods, and for left and right, 1 occupancy table. This is the rack object. Same is for the warehouse management system. If you hold down the Alt key and double click on the warehouse management system, it opens the subframe and you see all the methods that's here contained. And one is very important here, demo implementation. Some here green methods are only demo implementations, you can change this without any problems. All the blue ones, this is the basic functionality of the store, and if you change there something, maybe this complete hybrid warehouse doesn't work anymore. Okay, so the first step, I delete here the connector. I don't need to. This. I don't want to have automatic stock removal, and so I deactivate this here in the warehouse management. I want to make it in another way. In the first step, I want to load all the stuff that's coming from the station. I want to load it into the warehouse management and into the hybrid warehouse. And you can find in the hybrid warehouse 3D library one method, user set target. And this user set target method looks for a free place into the warehouse and then addresses the part to the right rack or rack link object. And this is prepared for as a sensor control. So I need to make a sensor control here because the part will be stopped and then released again. So I make here one sensor and assign user set target this method as the sensor control. There are some options for storing strategies. One by one would be this would distribute the parts on the rack lanes, and there are random predefined racks and XYZ ranges. I keep this storing strategy one by one. And so it should distribute the parts one by one to the rack lanes. Okay, I start this. So first, this part is now set up. The machine is set up. Now the machine is working. And the first part goes to this rack lane and the next. And this is the default storage strategy. It distributes the parts to the rack lanes you inserted here in your simulation. So this is the easy part. Next, I want to create the retrieval strategy based on a warehouse. And so I change this storage to a warehouse first. And to a supermarket. I activate the supermarket option, and then I need to configure this. I have 3 part types. Part type in this case means the classes of the part, and so I need to track the parts here. I have red, blue, and green. It should be a minimum should be 5, and maximum should be 10. The initial stock should be 10. And as a supplier, I can set here a method. And so I insert a method first in my frame. And this request part should be called if this stock goes under the minimum value. And this I can use to connect the supermarket with the Hybase warehouse. So first, I need to add some parameters. And I need 5 parameters for this method. First is the part, a string. Next is min stock. As integer, next max stock. I get current stock. And the 5th parameter would be ordered parts, but we don't change this value, so it keeps 0. And just for information, add is a part class. If we would need them. So first I need to calculate the quantity I want to order. And the quantity I want to order is max stock minus min stock. In our case, 5. And this quantity of this part I want to order from the Hybase warehouse. And all you want to do with the Hybase warehouse, you do with the warehouse management system. So I open the warehouse management system. And you have here, and this may be different if you have another version of Plan Simulation. In version 25.04, you have only 3 methods. One method is remove part. If you only want to remove one part, and this part as object, if you exactly know, okay, I need this part, this single part from the warehouse, then you can use this method, and you need to hand over the part you want to move. So the second is remove products, and remove products has 3 different parameters. First is the order number. We don't need it. Next is product as string, only the name of the product, and a quantity. And this looks good for us. You will get an error message or a debug here if the stock is not high enough. So it's not really comfortable. And then there's one method, place into stock, where you can hand over a pallet and place a pallet into the stock if you want to do this by your own. For instance, if you want to initialize the Hybase warehouse. Okay, so to remove several parts, I need to call warehouse management, remove products. And so this is the next step. In my method request part. We order the parts from the warehouse management system. First, we need to hand over an order number. I don't need it here. The part name is part, the parameter here, and the quantity I calculate here. Okay. I add a breakpoint to check this. So not to run in, I will run into problems if I start this without any stock here in the warehouse management system. And so I need some time to fill the store with parts so that my method can request 5 parts of them if I need them. And it's quite a lot of work to initialize the warehouse, the highway warehouse, because you need to initialize also all the data behind. And most important data are here in the warehouse management system. There are 2 tables. One is content here. There I have the product and the quantity. And there's an inventory where you have the product and all places where the products and all objects of this product type. If you want to initialize the highway warehouse system, you need also to initialize all these 2 tables, and there are more tables here in the rec lane. And this is occupancy right and left. It's nothing here. And so it's a little bit more work to initialize the warehouse. It's not enough just to place part into the warehouse. Otherwise, the warehouse management system doesn't work. And so you need also to initialize the data behind. Okay, I don't want to do this here in some minutes, and I just start the assembly process with a delay. And so I start the assembly process with a delay of 6.5 hours. I just start producing the containers after 6.5 hours. And so the warehouse management, the warehouse has the chance to collect some data. Oh, the green is not green. So I need to change the appearance. Okay, this is the initial state of the supermarket. It creates 10 parts, but I don't create containers for the assembly process, and so I can fill up my store with parts. So now 6.5 hours are over, and now we're starting the assembly process. And if the first part is falling below 5, my request part method will be called. Okay. So max stock is 10, min stock is 5. The quantity I want to order is 5, and then I remove products. Red is the first one. And okay, it's quite fast, and now it fills off. You can find statistics if you want to have, for instance, a chart about all the stocks in the in this hybrid warehouse. You find the information in the warehouse management system. Hold down the Alt key, double click it, and you have here the best one is this. You have the quantities of all the products, and I just copy the address of this table with Control-C, and then I add a chart, and this is data table, BMS content. Oh, it's not the right order. I want to have the data in columns. And so I have red, blue, and green. I fix the axis here to 55. And then we can let it run to see. And such a diagram is a good way to find out if this store is too little, or if you then don't have a balance between supply and demand, then the store will be filled, or the store will be empty if you pull too much parts out of the store. Yes, and these are the basics. You need to find the right method to pull the parts out, and it's not so much. It's only 2 methods you can use: remove part to remove one special part, and remove products to remove a certain number of parts. The storage of parts is running automatically, or you can use the method user set target as blueprint, and you see it's use the method place into stock to move the part into the warehouse management warehouse. If you want to make very special stuff with this object, you need to change a lot of methods. You can find one example on my webpage. I changed the warehouse management system to a data-based warehouse management system using SQLite interface. because you have a big problem with this kind of warehouse management. The warehouse management only looks for the name of the part. You cannot, for instance, if you have a warehouse where you have parts with different states of production, then maybe you need to look for the right part with the right name and then with the right state. And so you need to store also the state of the part. And this you cannot do with this quite simple, primitive warehouse management system. Normally, you need to store much more information about the parts. And then you need to change a lot of these methods. And you can find this how to change the complete warehouse management system. You can find also my books, and my new book comes in December this year. And so it starting the problems with this hybrid warehouse. You can only do very simple stuff with this. And the same as if you try to change the rack lane objects. I have a lot of examples where I need several levels of pre-storage area where you have 2 or 3 levels where you bring in parts and bring parts out. And this is very hard to do with this basic object of plan simulation. So you need to create your own rack lanes, and you need to change the control of the rack service unit. But you can use all the methods you find here, and you find a lot of methods inside the rack service unit here in this object. You can find a lot of methods that can help you to create your own hybrid warehouse. So for me, it's more one starting point to create your own hybrid warehouse. If you really need to make a complex warehouse simulation, then in most of the cases you need to create your own objects based on this. Okay, that's it for the basics. Any questions?
It looks like there's at least one in the chat or a comment about the rack positions.
One moment, I need to where's the yes, exactly. Yes, much more positions are possible if you have really a high bay warehouse with a height of 20 or more meters. Then normally you have the level for feeding the store and for outward movements on different levels, and so we have at least 2 or much more, and so it's really hard to change this. But again, you look in the videos, and there's a flexible rack service unit, and this rack service unit, it's there's no problem to load and unload on different set positions.
But we do also have some questions in the chat. There's one from Diego.
Is it possible to use this approach for one feeder and several racks? No, because the rack service units are really connected to the both racks on the sides, and you see this is one object, and you need to create a complete different structure then.
Looks like there's a strong opinion about which method is better.
Yeah,
Or
this is only one. Yeah, okay, it's only a demo installation, or this is only for uh, a highway warehouse with only one level for ingoing and outgoing transports. And so if you want to change this, then you need to create your own rec lane object. And you need to change so many methods. It's better to create it from the scratch. Yes, and have a look in the videos. It was last year, and it's at least one of one step to create another rec service unit. On the base of this library, is it possible to simulate manual warehouse with operator and forklift, or do I need to start from zero? You cannot. You can only use this library in connection, as it's only in connection the rec lane with the rec service unit, and this warehouse management system is all connected internally. And if you want to remove the rec service unit, then it doesn't work anymore, because the rec service unit has uh, internally methods to register the parts in the warehouse management system. So it's difficult. You cannot delete one part out of this library to make another library from this. You need then to change the programming. And okay, I don't know when I made a short presentation for picking and placing parts in a store at the Realize Live in Detroit, and I guess I will post this the model end of next week, and then you can have a look on this. But you need to create your own warehouse management system in some kind. So yeah, you need to create it from scratch, new. So as I started, it's really a complex task to create such warehouses, and you need also to consider the special warehouse management systems the company use, and which strategies they use to place parts in a certain area. And so it's really complicated.
it looks like you got a thank you there, so that's good. Um, let's see. You should be seeing on your screen a screenshot of the plant simulation virtual user group page. So that's definitely that URL there. You can click it right now and go to the page. And we encourage you to bookmark it, to follow the topic, which is what the animation is showing. If you click the follow button, then that will make sure that this info shows up in your feed on the homepage. And then if you click follow every post, you'll actually receive emails. You can see there's an envelope icon. You'll receive emails for each thing that's posted there. And the only things we post there are invites to these sessions, registration links, also the recordings from these sessions, and you'll see an occasional question that relates specifically to this topic and these sessions. So the other two things are, if you've been with us for a while, you know that we're showing the next topics, which you can click through and already register for. So July 8th will be create a heat map for tracking traffic analysis. July 22nd, connect plant simulation models using ODBC interfaces. So you can definitely click through there if you know that those are of interest to you. As always, I just do bring this up in case you're new with us. We have in the Siemens Accelerator Academy comprehensive education for technomatics plant simulation. And so you can kind of see the topics that are there. You can click through to the plant simulation associate certificate if you're new to the space. Definitely recommend take a look at those. And one of my favorite things, because we only do this once a year in the summer, is Realize Live. This is our in-person customer event. We had the one in Detroit earlier at the beginning of June, and I am headed to Amsterdam for Realize Live Europe. You can click there for more information. And for those of you who are in or near India, we also have a session in APAC at the beginning of August. So do consider attending those. And then if you're in Germany in the fall, there will be an in-person event at the Infinity Hotel in Munich. So they're still accepting speakers. So if you have a presentation that you think would be useful for the audience, you can use the small QR code to fill out that form. Or if you just want to register because you're nearby and want to attend, it is no cost. Then you can click on the big QR code there to register. So should be some good content there. Why don't I give you a chance, Steffen, to answer the question that Amir has put in the chat.
In discrete production systems, what is the best approach to model the packing of parts into pallets or bins and their transfer to the next production areas? If using an assembly station, what's the recommended method for handling and transferring partially filled pallets? Okay, the assembly station is our default approach to model the packing of parts into pallets, but you can do also with SimTalk. It's not a big deal. If you want to change the content of the pallets, if you, for instance, load pallets step by step in several stations, then you can use the assembly list. The assembly list is the basic approach to do this. But if you call at move, if you call assembly station cont move, then you can also push one unfilled pallet to the next station. But the default strategy is to change the assembly list if you have information about the different loading states. So yes, the assembly station would be number one. And but you can also use other objects to load pallets. You can use the pick and place robot to fill pallets, and you can use the worker to move parts onto pallets. But this is again connected with the assembly station. So assembly station or pick and place robot, these are the two ways.
Got to thank you there. So I guess that was a comprehensive answer. As you can see on the screen, you do have the link again for the forums there, where we'll get the recording within the next week or so, and then also a link to Steffen's customer community profile there. So definitely bookmark the forums and the pages there. And if everyone's going to be silent, I guess we're at the end of this week's session. Thank you, Steffen, so much for setting this up, and I hope everyone was able to get the content they needed, and we'll see you in the forums. Bye.
Bye.